Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Blank Space, the Blank Theatres podcast, which features people from the industry and gives you a peek into what it's like backstage. Chad Lindberg is an actor who you have definitely seen in action. He has a ridiculously impressive roster of credits, and I am going to have to take a very big breath and rattle these off quickly to save time because it's quite a list. Okay, first of all, let's get to the fan favourite roles as Jesse in Fast and the Furious and Ash in Supernatural. And then we've got the standout performances in, there's my big breath, October Sky, Sons of Anarchy, Star Trek Picard, Castle, The X-Files, ER, Criminal Minds, CSI New York, Weeds, Law & Order, SVU, CSI, Rosewood, Major Crimes, NCIS, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Sneaky Pete, and the cult shocker I Spit on Your Grave, and Big And. He showcases his deep passion for the paranormal as co-host of Ghost Stalkers. He's a longtime friend of the Blank Theatre, he has performed in the Young Playwrights Festival, and he has lent his time to fundraising experiences that directly support the Blank's work.
Wow, thank you for that.
Thank you. Oh, Chad, thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having us today.
Yeah. Oh, yes. The star of the show is
Lima.
on your lap.
Yeah. She's representing, she's holding down the fort. You know.
What do you have behind you?
So this is like, I was telling Sarah, this is kind of like my Millennium Falcon section where I just like sit and I handle all my business. I talk to people on the lives, like I'll sign autographs from here. Like this is all kinds of stuff that like my Jettas and stuff from the movie, like I'll kind of like, sign. I'm a collector, so I love being able to send out, collections for other people. And then, my little like, we all have our station.
Yes.
Yeah, this is my station.
I love it. My son would love it too. He's very
and
into
I'm a nerd, so I'm a huge nerd.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, in the best way possible. Totally.
I kind of think like nerds are taking over in a way.
Yeah, as they should. I mean, also, I'm a nut for nostalgia. I love nostalgia. The 80s, the 90s, before social media.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
It's social media is such a weird space. It's like it can be and could be used for so many good things, and yet it sort of adds to the rot, doesn't it?
I know. There's that. A lot of good comes from it. You meet a lot of different people, and but yeah, there is that underbelly of like, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is double-edged sword for sure.
Which is why we love the live theater and we love YPF. It's because all that goes aside and you get to the root of being creative and collaboration, and so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, that's a deep theme, I feel like, in every or almost every conversation I've had on this podcast is the collaboration factor of it. Like that seems to be the kind of spine, right? Of that holds everything up, and it's the reason why it's so much fun. We get to collaborate and play with other people.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it all began for me, was high school theater and the drama class, choir, like that was my jam. But it also had that energy about it, where it's like on stage and collaborating and laughing and everyone gets each other. We all get just how ridiculous, everything can be, and laugh at the same things. And also theater, you can't yell cut, you can't run, and you have to like stand on you have to like, be present. So there's, and we'll get into it, but like, yeah, that's, if you're not after that, then you're in the wrong game. You're in the wrong business.
Yeah, that might be what social media is good for. It might be good for the people who just want the fame aspect of it and the attention aspect of it.
Right. Well, totally. Because there's plenty of that, right? There's plenty of Instagram, personalities and TikTok personalities. And more power to that. I think I definitely indulge in social media a lot and use it to my advantage. But yeah, there comes that ferociousness, that ferocious energy that comes from whatever that is.
Yeah.
For the most part, I'm able to share about the shows that I'm doing or YPF and get people involved. And this year for me was probably the most deep. I just, really coming home just feels like, and this has been, you guys been doing it for a long time. It still feels new to me, yet
I mean, the
familiar,
piece
very
that you were
familiar.
in this year was one of my favorites. I would love to see that piece a little longer.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it was just the way that they wrote it was just such an interesting way to present it.
Yep.
And it never a dull moment.
No, not at
It was
all.
just such a great story. I would love to see that on stage as its own thing. I thought it was a very important piece and just very well done.
I agree, and also very relevant, and very spot on. And it was done in sort of uh, like a not like a rock and roll sort of way, but like I don't know, what would you call it, Sarah? If you is Sarah here? Is she
She
popping in or?
she is.
Yeah,
Pop
I
in,
am
Sarah.
here,
yeah.
yes. I
Since
did. Well, I figured too. I was like, I played Chad's wife for a
yeah,
minute in that
yeah,
show.
not like a rockabilly vibe, but what would you say? It had like a
It definitely had kind of like a punk feel to it,
yeah,
in a way of where it was like, even though it was this Western story of you know, of a man just trying to live his life as a man,
yeah,
and but with this like a really cool soundtrack, and it was all just a little, everything was a little distorted
yeah,
in
Yeah,
some
because the
ways.
the timeline was distorted and the way that it was presented was not your average way of
exactly.
presenting a story, and
Yeah,
it was just so incredible, and it was a great, it was a really it was a great story for those of us who not us, those of them who
yeah.
seem to think that being trans is a new fad.
Exactly. I mean, I know I learned a lot in just that amount of time. And yeah, I thought it was very special.
Yes.
And I continue to thank Rix, who wrote the show, a lot. Like I said, it's the first time I've really sort of connected with like the playwright, I think, and it hit on a different level this time for me.
Yeah.
And I look forward to the next, whatever that is. It's yeah.
Yeah. Note to producers, put us in something together
Yeah,
next time.
exactly. I know, right? It'll happen.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, it'll happen.
I like that you say no to producers, like I'm not right here.
What? Who? What?
Yeah.
You not what? I don't know. Just, yeah, it's so interesting. You have done so many of my favorite television shows though. So I need to know,
Yeah.
like after high school, what was the bridge between high school and becoming like a guest star slash recurring on every hit show on
I
television?
appreciate that. I started in high school. I started on stage and then I pursued it in Seattle. First audition I went on, I booked. It was two lines in a movie called Born to Be Wild. It was a movie about a boy and a gorilla. It's out there who become friends. And that's where it kind of started for me. And then I graduated, and then about a year after that, I moved to LA. I had gotten cast in a independent that had come from LA. It was in Seattle, which is where I'm from. And they were having trouble finding their fourth lead. And lo and behold, they took a chance on a Mount Vernon boy, and which is a small town north of Seattle. And I had booked that. And then during that, an agent who strangely I had met on a vacation when I had come to LA like a year and a half prior.
Bizarre.
Yeah, it was crazy. A friend of mine had brought me down, brought me to like a big agent's house, and they were all having lunch, and she was like, "Oh, this is my friend Chad. He wants to be an actor." And they were like, "Okay, cool." Like, you know,
Yeah, join the club.
totally. And then I wasn't even living here. I went back home, I graduated, and then lo and behold, I got cast in this movie called Black Circle Boys. One of the agents at that barbecue saw me, and she had come up to visit the lead in that movie. And I was like, oh my God. And her name was Leanne. And then she said, you need to come to LA right now, which is kind of what I was planning to do. She said, I'll take care of you. And then I moved to LA. And then within 2 months, I started working right away and got into a huge agency, and kind of like 19, not knowing, the trajectory and what, it doesn't happen like that is what I'm trying to
Right.
say. You know what I mean?
Yes,
It's
this
rare.
story, by the way,
Yeah,
it can happen, but don't think this is the norm.
exactly. And I will say, like, my hard times came later. Like, you know what I mean? After
Mm-hmm.
fame, like after like you being in the business for a while, and you can't avoid that.
Yeah.
So my hard times came much later. But yeah, I walked into a big agency and delivered Italian food for maybe 2 weeks. And then I booked Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That was sort of like the first sort of guest star, and like, oh, okay, maybe this is gonna happen. And then maybe a month later, I booked ER, and I was like, oh shit, ER, and when it was like Clooney, and it was like at the top of its
Yeah.
game. And then October Sky was like, my first studio movie, and I started booking right away. And then over the years, I've had blessing, and it still amazes me to grace a lot of different TV shows that are phenomenons in their own right, or you know, fan favorites, or whatever they become. And even when you were reading off the credits, I'm like, who's that guy? I'm still like, who's that? Constantly
It's
like, who is
surreal.
that? Yeah, very much so, especially at a older age. You sort of look back and you're like, oh, okay, interesting.
What was
But
it like? Like, I can't imagine. I mean, I thought I was ready when I was 19, but I was not ready to be
right,
anywhere near this business. What did it feel like? Like, what was that feeling of being like, you know, on the cusp of being like a kid and a man and being thrust into this business at a time when it was really it sounds weird, but it's much easier now to get into the business because there's
totally.
more stuff that exists and
Yep.
there's more ways to submit yourself and be seen. Like, what did that feel like?
Exactly, because I tell people when I moved to LA, I was 19. We depended on beepers, and you'd pull
Hmm.
over, and you'd call your agent from the cell or from the payphone. We'd drive all the way across town to get the pages for the script. Like that was how
Or
you
sit
did
in the
it.
office to read the full script. Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
The work that it took. And also at that time, like, there was no influencers. That was not even a thing. Social media was not even a thought. You came down, it was like you jumped into the pool of the hardcore, like, this is how it is. But again, for me, I think I still had my, like, oh, everything's wonderful, and it was.
Hmm.
And then, like, as time goes on, that's when you start to, like, and you can't avoid it. It's the business when it starts to, like, it just hits you hard. You
Yeah.
start going through all the things, all the stages. But I remember that time just being just like, you know, and also like LA to me, that was like the time when Swingers came out.
Hmm.
It was Swingers at that time, and we'll never get that time back. And so
Right.
you know, that's kind of what it was like. And I had actors. We were living in a house together, me and some other actors, and we all started to take off. And there was a documentary made about it. That's a whole different story. But I do think it's much easier for people now in terms of, like, there's so many avenues for people to
Right.
put themselves out there now, and that's awesome. I think that's wonderful. However, I think it all depends on your own journey, right?
Hmm.
And whatever that is, however you get there is how you get there.
Okay, rewind. You
Yeah,
glossed over it. What was the documentary?
documentary is called My Big Break. I, back in the day, around October Sky time, I was living with in a house. Had roommates, Wes Bentley from Wes Bentley American Beauty and Yellowstone. Brad Rowe. Brad Rowe was in Billy's Hollywood Screencase, and he was kind of like an indie darling. And then me, and then you had another actor. His name was Greg, who was struggling, and we were all living in this house, and we had a friend named Tony Zierra, who's a filmmaker, and he just started rolling cameras. And this was way before reality TV. From what I understand, there's a new version of this, maybe hoping to come out. But yeah, we were all living in the house, and so basically we just started recording our lives, and Tony started rolling cameras, and so you kind of see behind the scenes of like what's really like, and fame and relationships and what that does. And a red carpet is terrifying.
Yeah.
Everyone sees ha 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 this, but like they don't see the moments where you turn around and you have to take a breath, and you know what I mean, things are coming
Yeah.
at you, and it's very overwhelming. So it was, and then it went to he made the documentary. It premiered at the Toronto Film Festival years ago, and that was my big break. It was the first version of it. Anyway, it's a long story, and then he came out with my big break. And anyway, you can't find that anymore because I think he wants to make a final version. It went to film festivals. The first film festival we went to was Toronto in 2001, September 10th. And
wow.
yeah, and we had this big screening and big offers. And then September 11th happened, and the movie went to, fell apart.
Yeah.
Anyway,
A lot
so
of things got
yeah,
lost,
totally, exactly. So it was this whole thing, the documentary. So, and it's a true look on what it's really like. And we'll see if that final version comes out. I don't know.
I would love that.
Yeah,
I think that a lot of people would be interested in that.
I agree, because I would have liked to have seen that before I came to LA. However, I don't know that it would have changed anything for me. It was a movie that we would show, and you'd either get people that are like, okay, that's the final nail in the coffin for me, I don't want to pursue that ever. Or you get the people that are crazy enough, because you have to be crazy enough to pursue it. You do. And I mean crazy in a good way.
No, it is though. It's like I
know?
always say, when they say what the definition of insanity is, doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. It's what we do. We audition for things time and time again and don't get them. But we're like, no, I'm still going to audition. It's almost like being a gambler. The next time I'm going to win. I'm totally going to win the next time.
Totally.
It's like you do have to.
Yeah. And you also have to go through each of those auditions to get to the one that you want eventually, that comes your way. They're each steps, no matter how ridiculous they are, or you're like, I've done this one a million times, or they've seen me 4 or 5 times. Why do they need me to audition again?
Oh, yeah. Or like you keep going into the same casting agent's office and you're like, oh my God, I don't know why they keep calling me in for things I never get booked. But you have to understand that it's like, it's not this doesn't sound like it will make sense to some people, but it's not the getting booked that really matters. It's the getting called into the office again.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if they keep calling you into the office,
it's a great
that
thing.
is a sign that you're good at what you do.
Exactly. And it's a compliment for sure. Yeah. I mean, totally. Even to be considered for an audition, on some of these projects is a blessing. Also, what I think is tougher now for some actors, especially if you're getting into it, we had the blessing, and it was intense. And, after so many years of doing it, it really got to me. But the in-person auditions, going into the room, feeling that stress, because if you can handle that stress, then you can handle the stress of set, which is even crazier. You know what I mean?
It's true. And also for some actors, like I don't do as well with a self-tape. I do much better in the room. I do better with the energy. I like to have the little chat before and afterwards.
Yeah.
I do so much better that way. Yeah. Otherwise it's like I have to be like a camera person and a lighting person, and I don't do that.
Totally. Yeah. You got to wear a lot of hats.
Yeah. But that, I was just on 2 seasons of a show where we had an actor on who was a series regular the first time he'd been on television, and had never, ever done an in-person audition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like,
wow.
Okay. I mean, kind of similar to how you entered the business.
Totally.
Like super quickly, super young.
Gotta know. I think the stress of going into a room, I think it's important, at least a few times, but
Hmm.
we're in a it's a new time, you know what I mean? So
It's so new. And I mean, I guess I do understand from their perspective, they probably get to see so many more people when
totally.
they get takes
Yeah.
sent in and then you do the callback on, or not the producer session on the Zoom. But it's just so it's strange. It just when you have done it the other way, when you have done those pilot seasons where you have, you start the Monday morning with like 5 auditions, and then by Friday it was actually 15. And so
Right. Yeah.
you're like driving, and if you're lucky, you have a friend who can drive while you're looking over your
Yeah, I
lines and do the
know.
parking for you. And like,
Totally.
I don't think that will
Madness.
ever exist again. And there will, I
No.
mean, talk about character building.
I know, I know. Yeah, and look, after 20 years of doing that, or however many years of doing it up until probably COVID, right? I was getting to the point where like driving, parking, like, and then of course, like sometimes you get these the night before, and I love to be off book. I
Me
feel
too.
like you can really fly if you're off book as much as you can be. Because
Hmm.
once you start looking down at those pages,
It's over.
it's over. And we've all been there, and it sucks. And you can feel it in the room. You're like, oh, I'm
Hmm.
not getting this. I just blew it. I dropped the energy and it's gone.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have had, I think, one in-person audition since COVID times. And I was so out of practice that that actually happened to me.
Well, yeah.
And, and I just was like, nah. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
starting over. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
not going
Yeah.
to be your final thought of
Yeah.
me. I'm
Exactly.
starting over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very different feel. And I have to say, there's an actor, he does mainly voiceover, but he does tons of stuff, and he's a RADA guy, and his name is JB Blank, and he says like he was homeless for a while, he, just trying to be an actor, and
Yeah.
he's like, I wouldn't give up any of that because the
Yeah.
appreciation that I
Totally.
have now for my career would not
Yeah.
exist.
It's true. It's very, very true. And, totally. I can relate to that. I can't, like I said, my hard times came later, can't tell you how many couches I slept on. I was never had not had a roof over my head, but I had a place to sleep, whether that was a friend's house, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
you have to go through it, and many desert periods, and I call those the really long, like where you don't book anything and you really got to sort it out. Like it does build that character, and I quite frankly, I think, I don't know, it does I think we all need that in some way to go through
Hmm.
that, because it's like you can't appreciate as much,
Hmm.
and I've always appreciated, but to really know, man.
I mean, when I think of the like 17 times I almost quit, like where it was
Totally.
like, this is it. I'm not
Yeah.
doing this anymore. This is driving me crazy. Why do I do this to myself? I
Yeah.
haven't worked in 3 months and I don't know
Yeah.
how I'm going to pay my bills. And then, you get that nice, piece of work, and you're like, oh, and
Oh,
that just goes
yeah.
away.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist in you anymore. It's
Yeah.
just gone.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. Exactly. Eventually, be the last person standing. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
And you've got to commit. And people are like, well, what should I do to become an actor? I'm like, number one, get on stage.
Yes.
And if you can't hack it there, you don't like it, then you got no business doing this.
Hmm.
Go get on social media and do something else. But acting,
Yeah,
yeah,
because honestly, this is, it seems to people like it's easy, like it's a breeze.
right,
Like,
right.
oh, I can do that. But you're seeing the final version of everything. You're
Exactly,
seeing like
exactly.
the final cut with like the music and the this and the that. You're not seeing like starting from like everyone's process, where the writer starts from, the producer start from, the director starts from, the actors start from, the casting directors start from,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
how it all comes together. And it's a lot of work, and if you cannot a stick with it,
yeah.
b show up and be prepared, and c not lose your mind and still be pleasant to work with and nice to everybody, then it's not for you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And like you said, be prepared. That's another thing too. Like you gotta be prepared,
Mhm.
and be ready for anything that they're gonna throw you on set. You gotta be ready, man. You know what I mean?
even if you think that you can't do it, like there is a certain amount of bullshitting that you have to do, and it has no like it's no indication of whether or not you're an honest person. It's
Right.
just like you kind of have to be like, yeah, I can do that. Fuck, can I
Yes,
do that?
exactly. And then, yeah, 100%. And people don't, I think, see the fear. Like the fear takes over for me. As soon as I book something, there's the elated, like, yes, yes, and the telling friends and family. That's the best part. And then the next day, I'm like, oh shit,
Oh, yeah.
what am I gonna do? How am I
The
gonna do
imposter
this?
syndrome like hits you.
Exactly. I'm like, surely they meant to cast somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've
Surely.
made a terrible
Yeah,
mistake.
yeah. And then I'll rehearse and I'll be like, oh my God, that's terrible. Why I sound awful right now. How am I even gonna do this? Yeah. And
Yeah.
then somehow you get to set and you're prepared and you've done everything you can and it all works out.
It is. It's sort of like a test of trust. Like you have to learn not only to trust other people and your
Yeah.
director and the writers and the writing on the page and the words and everything else, but you have to learn to trust yourself and be like, no, no, no,
Right.
no, I can do this. Like just fly. Just do it. Stop thinking and just do it.
Yeah, you do. And that is also one of the toughest parts, I think, for me is just like, okay, or eventually I convince myself that I'm the right guy for the role because they casted me. So I
Right.
must be doing something right. But I also think that's a good sort of humble way. I think if we're like not, there's always room to grow and I don't know everything and also it's collaborative.
Yes.
You get there and you're like, oh, the other actors and my costume, and then things shift, the energy
Yeah.
shifts, and the magic and the intensity of the moment that you have to like deliver. You can't
Yeah.
just be like, I don't feel
Yeah.
like it. You have to deliver.
That's right.
You
It's
know?
not a situation where like during pandemic, I was lucky enough to work consistently once everything got back. But
Yeah,
like, other people would be like, and I was like, no, 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 like I can't get
yeah,
sick because if I
yeah,
get sick,
yeah,
like either I'm replaced or I'm costing
yeah,
this production a lot of money while they're trying to work
exactly.
around my
Yeah,
situation.
totally.
Like there's no someone's taking your place.
Well,
Like maybe.
totally. And we can't get sick. This is a job where, like, you have to be calling from the hospital. Something has to have happened. Like
Hmm.
you have to show up, unless of course you've got COVID or something. You can't. But like, yeah, you got a cold. You don't feel good. Oh well. You go
Yeah,
to set and
you do
I
it.
you do it. I just a year and a half ago I got to work with one of my heroes, Kevin Costner in Horizon.
Oh,
And I remember him. He was always talking to the extras and talking cast and talking to the extras and really like pumping them up. And he's like, you know what? Some days I have to come to set and I may not feel good and I have to fake it. Some
mm,
days you got to show up and you got to like. And I was like, man, even at that level, like
yeah.
you do, you can't just
Even more so at that level because you're the leader. Like
totally.
you, like everything kind of hinges on you. And it's nice
Yes.
to hear that he's like that because that makes the whole difference in a production when,
Uh,
the lead is inclusive of everybody and lets everybody feel like they're a big part of it because they
Yeah,
are.
yeah, 100%. And I mean, to see somebody like that, the way he would address the cast and the crew and the extras, who are pertinent,
Mm-hmm.
is something else. And more of that,
Yeah,
more of that.
please,
Yeah,
please. Okay, now I'm going to switch gears.
I think I know where you're going, but
You do
yeah,
know where I'm going.
yeah, the paranormal. Are we switching? Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. As Sarah knows, as a lot of people, I have a lot of stories. I have a lot of ghost stories. I think life is weird and bizarre. I don't think it's normal by any means. I think people think that people is being normal. I don't think it's normal. And then you add death on top of that, and you add ghosts and Bigfoots and aliens and trolls and I mean, it goes deep, but yeah, I consider that my other passion and spirituality, I should say.
I am going to binge that show. Um,
Yeah.
I'm curious because I haven't seen it. Are
uh,
you sitting in it as a believer, or are you sitting in it as someone who is enthralled by it, like inquisitive and curious, or is it both?
all of it, 100%. I'm 150% all in on that. This stuff exists, and there
Mhm.
is much more than we give credit to. 100%. I also think being a skeptic is healthy, and not everything is paranormal. Not everything is. We have to like be reasonable. But
Sure, but
I
you can be reasonable and it's unexplainable. So when it's
exactly.
unexplainable,
Totally. Yeah. And that's why I love doing it, because it's like, I don't know what I'm going to come up against or expect, or, when something scratches or touches me that I can't see, or, talks to me. Pretty crazy. So now we had a show for a little bit of time, take people out on investigations and go to really, really, really scary places. And I like to push the boundaries and be like, well, what's going on? What is
what's
this?
the scariest place you've been?
There's two places that come to mind. One is Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. It's a abandoned hospital in Tennessee. They do ghost tours out of there now. And I don't know, Sarah, if I've showed you this photo, but it's a very scary place. It's why I have this good luck monkey on my arm. It's a very long story. I won't get too crazy with it, but there's a photo of me and this beast sitting in the room with me, and it's just like this massive creature sitting on itself and engaged and sort of like leaning forward and like looking at me, and it had like a cow head, skull, and like horns, and like this big black hair, and then long arms and like these crinkly hands, and like the chest is like rib cagey, but like you can kind of almost see faces. Yeah, and then this big black body that goes into the wall, and it's almost sitting on its feet like a bull. Crazy. I've never seen anything like it, and it was like this massive window that it was sitting under, and we tried to debunk it. I mean, yeah, I'll have to send it to you. It's bizarre, but that's one of many crazy places. So that place is nuts. There's another place called Whispers Estate in Mitchell, Indiana. It's this home you would never know. It's this old, and we this is an episode that we actually shot on Ghost Stalkers, but it's an old Victorian home, and it's one of the most terrifying places I've ever been, and one of the most profound, because the most scariest places seem to be my biggest teachers. So
Mm.
yeah, but I've been to some really hairy places, and I find a lot of like, even though it's scary, I find a lot of solace in it, because I'm like, well, there's something going on. It's not
Mhm.
just emails and texts and our
Yeah.
our daily like, well, let me tell you what happened. It's
Yeah.
not. It's just takes us out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've had a couple of encounters myself. So,
Yeah.
like, always interested in what people who like really get into it.
Totally.
Because I'm the opposite. I'm not going towards it. Like, when I feel it, I'm like, listen, you can be here. That's fine. Just don't fuck
Yeah.
with me, my people, or my
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But you can stay. Mm.
I hear you. I hear you. And I do tell people, especially when they come to the events, I say, this stuff gets real. And there's a lot of like romanticism about, or, it's about ghost hunting, and, oh, it's, we're going to go. No, I tell people like it can affect you.
Of
And
course.
yeah, 100%. And it gets real. And there is what's the right word? There is a consequence, I think. Spiritually, like I've definitely dealt with some very, very crazy things. This is a very good one that happened recently. It's a great ghost story. I went to a place, in another really, really scary place called Malvern Manor in Iowa. I had went there and spent a couple nights in this place, and it was loaded with just a very intense energy. I came home about a week and a half later. My mom was visiting, and Lima, who's asleep on my lap right now, she loves to sleep with me. But when grandma's here, she loves to lay with grandma. So the dog was not laying with me. I said goodnight to mom. She likes to sleep out here on the couch and watch TV when I go to bed. I took a bath and I went to bed. During the night, I was having a dream that I was being scratched, and I was just kind of like in this kind of like state. You know how you're groggy, and I'm like, oh man, I'm getting scratched in my dream. No, that's not happening. It's crazy. And I would kind of feel, and I'd be like, nah, it's nuts. I woke up the next morning and I had I can send you this photo too. I 3 long scratches down my chest, like 3 deep. And what was crazy about it is like a human finger can't do that. So like how close that they were together. They were like hypodermic needle scratches, and they went. I probably have them still the scars. They went all the way down my chest. I got up the next morning. I'm like, Mom, look at these, right? But what was really crazy about it was maybe a couple months later, I was doing another investigation at a place, and I was like, hey, for just maybe you can scratch me just because I want to see if this is legit. And I have a device that can talk in real time to spirits, right? It's called a phasma box. I said, can you scratch me? And then literally you hear it say back to me, in your dreams. Yeah. But yeah, I could, yeah, the photos are unbelievable. And I've showed people, and I'm like, people in the field, they're like, I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, I could, this is the rabbit hole I can go down for hours. But yeah, man, I do a lot of paranormal stuff, and it's thrilling. Yeah, the Queen Mary is just a classic haunted spot. It's beautiful. Before COVID and before it had shut down, I had gone there for an event, and we were on the sleep. Our room was in the bottom level of the ship, so that's where they kept a lot of crew to sleep, and the rooms were incredibly small. We were in there, and I remember getting up to try to go use the restroom, and I opened the door. It was in the hallway, and I'm like, oh God, and the bathroom door was right next to the to where we leave the room. So I'm like, I got it wrong, and went in the bathroom. That was it. So cut to 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I'm laying down, sleeping, of course, and I wake up, just kind of like wake into this, like, I see my ex-girlfriend, and her hands are trying to feel where the door is, trying, like, kind of, I was like, where is the door? And I go, hey, the light is on the right. I go, it's right there. And then all of a sudden I feel tap, tap, tap on my shoulder, and my ex-girlfriend was behind me. And I looked over, and the figure was gone. It was a woman that I had, because it happened so fast and you're trying to like digest what is happening. Instantly I thought, and it looked like her. So and I can still remember it.
Well, your
But
brain
yeah,
is trying to make sense of it, and the first thing that makes sense is, oh, it's the other person that's in the room.
totally. And I didn't say a word, and I just laid back down, and I was just stunned, and somehow I fell back asleep, and we didn't talk about it till the next day. Yeah, it was an apparition of a woman, and she was literally like doing this to the door. But because I had almost did the same thing earlier that day, sort of going out to the hallway, in my mind, I'm like, oh, she's just looking for the light switch. Had she not tapped me on the shoulder and I turned around, and I had that moment where I'm like, oh, that's not her, like, how far would it have gone? Because I literally found myself reaching out and like, no, it's on the right. Like, she was maybe 2 feet from me, the apparition. Something else, man. That's a good story too.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll have a tea or a meal or
totally.
something.
Yeah.
Because I lived in a haunted house, a very haunted house for
Tell
like
me.
8 months. Okay, so I was renting an upstairs room from this couple.
Yeah.
I was in college, and I found one day, I had lived there for a few months, and one day there was a small closet. It was like a Victorian. It was a small closet, and then above that there was a shelf, and then above that there was another shelf, but you couldn't really access it because it was very close to the wall. It's almost like that wall hadn't been there before. And so one day I was like, and I reached up and I pulled down a white silk nightgown. It was this beautiful white silk nightgown. And I was like, oh my God. So I hand washed it and I wore it to bed one night.
Say no more.
It's a long story, but I will tell it to you one day. But suffice it to say, it was the most scared think I have ever been in my life. You know those moments in movies where people freeze and they don't move and you're like,
Yeah,
run, run.
yeah.
I had one of those moments, and I had a dog, like my bestie, Lucas at the time was my dog, and he was fast asleep. Like there's
Wow.
all this stuff going on, and he did not wake up the entire time. It was crazy. It was
Eerie,
crazy.
because the animals are like the best indication.
Right. And I was
Yeah.
just like, what? Nothing. Nothing.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll tell you another time because it was
Yeah.
really bizarre.
Yeah.
But
Did you sleep in it ever again after that?
no, 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 no.
Yeah.
I put it
Yeah.
back. I put it back up. I was like,
Right.
sorry. I'm really
Yeah.
sorry. Sorry about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows how it works? Why? What? I don't know. But
Yeah.
I do know, like, when we get that feeling, our minds will lie to us, but our bodies will always tell us the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and also it was like there was actual stuff happening. Like there were noises and there were lights and there was like stuff coming, like noises coming from other rooms, banging coming from outside the house. But the people who lived downstairs were not reacting. Like no one else was reacting to
Wow.
it. It
Wow.
was really crazy.
It was
But
just for
it
you.
was just for me.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Thanks. I feel so special. Oh my God. Well, I could talk to you
I
forever, but
know.
we're
Right
almost
back
at
at you.
time.
Amazing. I
Um,
love that.
My
It
God,
came
thank
late.
you so
I know.
much.
Like, I love this. I mean, you know, like I said, the YPF has been like really important. Through the last 3 years I've gotten to do it, but um, it's just as an actor, as a performer, as somebody who needs to be in those environments with other people and create. It's
Yes.
been like one of the biggest blessings for me being here since like 1996, and now just having theater come back into my life,
Hmm.
really super important. So I'm always going to
Yeah.
thank them. I thank you for having me on today, and
Oh, thank you for
rock
being
on, man.
here. It is a
Yeah,
great community. I agree. And I'm getting to meet people in the community while I'm doing this, and it's so wonderful. We have such a beautiful community of people. It's really
yeah.
great.
I think we
It's
all
good stuff.
realize just how important it is,
Yeah.
and for our mental health. Like, I get in
Yes.
there and I'm like, I feel good, and to laugh and be silly, and to be
Yeah.
in our actors room, getting on the backstage, getting ready, and that excitement. You know,
Yes.
yeah,
It's good stuff.
yeah,
It's good stuff.
exactly.
It
Yeah,
reminds you of the connection in the community that not only should exist with actors, but should exist in the world in general.
exactly. I agree.
Yeah, it's a good
More,
reminder of that.
yeah, more of that.
Yeah, more of that.
Yeah,
And I'm going to remind you guys who are listening to go and find your joy today. Find that thing that makes you happy and makes you feel fulfilled and express yourself. And thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time. Bye.